What's the process for those guys? What did you tell the guys? That a lot of guys have decisions to make.
I met each individual player the next morning because when our season ends, it then becomes about then. Our season ended that night, so the next morning I had individual meetings with the I would say 7 guys are considering their options. We will get information from probably 20 to 25 NBA GMs. We will then put their families in touch directly with the NBA. If they want my opinion, I'll give it. If they don't, I won't. That was about a 5-minute meeting. I'll probably have another 5-minute meeting with them. There's not going to be any brainwashing, forcing, pushing, either in or out. I want each kid to make a decision for themselves. I did tell a couple of the kids that it's a man's league. It's not a child's league. You could be physically ready. If you're not ready for a man's league, you need to come back, but that's your choice. And we'll give them the information. We could lose 7 guys.
What's the minimum you think you lose?
I would guess 5 would be the minimum, but I would say 7 is a distinct possibility. I hope I'm wrong, and I have 4 guys coming back again. I hope they surprise me like they did last year.
Athletically, is this the toughest night you ever had to deal with, sir?
No, I think, if you remember in 2008, that was a pretty tough day that next day.
Yeah.
I've had, the thing I would say, and the reason I'm never too high or too low, and if we win, I just change clothes and go home and sleep because I'm getting older. But I've been through those buzzer beater, how did they win, comeback, so many of those kind of games. And I've been through a few devastating losses that if I'm doing this, you just can't sustain what you have to do for these kids because you're more concerned about you and your own feelings. When that stuff happens, you got to be concerned about their feelings. They're 18 and 19. And so, again, I say it, Bo had to walk off the court like I did this year. And if I have respect for him, then I got to deal with it like he did.
Cal, did you tell Andrew to reach out to Frank Kaminsky?
I did not see Andrew that night. I went to bed. I didn't know what was happening until the next day. But he dealt with it. He did a good thing.
What do you, with Andrew and Aaron, where their draft prospects right now might be different? How do you deal with that with those guys?
Well, we give them the information, and I think if they choose to go in the league, they'll both, if they're not first rounders, which I believe they will be when you get the workouts and the interviews and you see their size and their athleticism and all that. When you meet them and say, those are 2 of the greatest kids, I mean, where did this other stuff come from? Where is this narrative? It's not true. And then I think what will happen is they'll both be in the first round, but even if they're not, it'll be shortly thereafter. And that'll be based on a European kid, someone jumping in the draft that no one expected to jump in. There's so many variables, but I would be surprised if both of them weren't first-round picks.
Does that sound like you think those are 2 guys that know what they're going to do?
I haven't talked to them since that meeting.
Okay.
So we'll when I get back there tonight, tomorrow, we'll probably grab some guys and see if anybody's solidly knows what they're doing. They're solid, and if they're solid, we'll tell them to announce it.
Willie said basically he thought, I'm done. It's time to take the next step. Is that basically what he told you?
I would say
as well?
he and Carl, the twins, Trey, you know, if they're all, there's no reason to hold off if you know what you're doing. You just say it and let's move. And then now my job shifts from that to making sure we bring in people to help them interview, that they start training, that they get on the track. We help them. And then the other thing is now I'm their PR machine. I become their, and that's why I said my season doesn't end until June 28th.
And even though you have a kind of the lead on all the top prospects, how much energy does that take to replenish the whole stock?
I need to get through the next month, and I know I can do it. I'll go one step at a time, sleep as much as I can sleep, get done what we have to get done, and then I got to step off the gas. But it's if you do this and you're about letting these kids make their own decisions, you're in this boat every year. Last year we weren't because 4 guys decided to come back. I never expected them to come back. But then our problem was, how do we play all these guys? Now it's like, how do we field a team? You have to have a layup line. Like, you can't have two guys on the side. I mean, you got to.
It sounds like you feel like Devin, it's a possibility. He's
Oh,
coming
it's
back
a
and
no, it's a possibility he's leaving, and Dakari the same. What if Dakari's the 25th pick of the draft? I'm not going to say you should stay. See, the worst thing for me is to be in that position and try to influence a kid because of what's right for me. Now, if something happens to that young man, his stock drops, he gets hurt, something happens, and I influence, how do you live with yourself? I mean, what's the impact it's going to have on me if all these kids leave? They're going to rescind the Hall of Fame vote. I mean, what? They're going to take away the 2012 championship. It has no effect that way on me. It makes my job harder, but it's just how it is.
When you put your PR hat on, what are you going to tell the NBA about Karl Anthony Towns and whether or not he should be number one?
Well, I won't say he should be number one. I'll say this is what he is. He's one of the greatest kids, really intelligent, really a smart kid. Will make free throws, can play pick and roll defense, will guard, block shots, and is going to be a little bit like an Aldridge.
Decisions. Are there any transfers you're concerned about?
I hit Tyler Eulis yesterday and said I'm gonna build a team, get you guys. Let's do this again. Let's rerun this.
What about Alex?
I'm going to explore for Alex. My guess is the injury will probably influence him to come back. But, if someone says they'll take him 15 or 16 in the draft, then that may change. But I've got to do the homework for him and make sure his family talks to the NBA too. Again, the reason I'll do homework and give him what I'm gathering, but I also want the families to talk directly to the league, because I don't want me to be in the middle. I'm just gathering information. At the end of the day, you need to talk to them and make sure what we're seeing and reading is right.